Ghana's been working on retail payments infrastructure since the
At the helm of Bank of Ghana FinTech Revolution is Kwame Humpong, the head of the FinTech and Innovation tasked with building the bank's seamless retail payment system, integrating it into the domestic and global markets to spur economic growth. We caught up with Kwame at the 2023 annual DC FinTech Week to talk about how the Bank of Ghana is using the latest FinTech innovation to drive financial inclusion at home, spur economic growth, and foreign direct investments in the country. So, as the head of the FinTech at the Bank of Ghana, I heard you're working on projects regarding financial inclusion. So talk to us about what you're doing in your country with the bank to encourage financial inclusion.
Thank you very much. So Ghana has been working on a series of financial inclusion enabling initiatives over the last perhaps 20 years. It started with our retail payment ecosystems revamping, which was a foresight that guides what we do today. And so in addition to establishing a national switch and leveraging it to provide a lot of the interbank systems that enable easy and seamless payments across the ecosystem, we also introduced several policy interventions from the Payment Act to branchless banking in the past to crowdfunding policies to policies on inward remittances to support the remittance flows that support people locally, and even a policy that looks at simplifying how MSMEs can be onboarded as merchants to receive digital payments. These are some of the initiatives we've been working on. We've also been working on how we can ensure that innovation that drives financial inclusion can actually be catalyzed in its time to market. So we introduced a sandbox, for instance, quite recently to ensure that innovators' ideas can be brought to market much easier with clarity as to what the risks and opportunities are so that we can provide proper guidance and regulatory comment on those innovations. And most recently, we've been working on a central bank digital currency. And that innovation and that pilot we run was really one of its key attributes or objectives was financial inclusion, to make sure that we can extend access to not just payments and accounts, but access to government paper money to people who live beyond the cell network connectivity zones. So people who live offline can also find a way of making digital payments even if they are not online. This creates an opportunity for service providers like banks and fintechs and provides an opportunity for dwellers of these off-grid locations, not just access to financial accounts, but actually enhancements in the value or the minimum of services they can get access to. And for us, that is a very important step that we can also take to enable the ecosystem and drive financial inclusion through the vehicles that have shown their capacity to help us attain that financial inclusion.
So, you mentioned the digital currency. FinTech is something that most people outside of Africa are not aware that Africa has leapfrogged when it comes to financial payments. Talk to me about, you say you've been at this for over 2 decades now. What are some of the results that you're getting, and what are some of the challenges that you're encountering?
I think the fundamental results that we have gotten so far is, as it stands, we have about 68% in financial inclusion as of the most recent Global FinLex report. Prior to that, we're somewhere in the low 20s, came to about 40s, then 58, and now we're here.
How long did it take you to...
So this journey has been going on since around 2012, but it began to kick up a bit more accelerated fashion since, I would say, 2014, when the central bank started considering a revamping of its policy framework for mobile money. Mobile money became successful, and I think most recently had been declared that Ghana was the fastest mobile money market in terms of growth, and which is true. And what is interesting about it is because of our legal and regulatory architecture, as mobile money grew and brought more people into the financial sector, bank accounts also grew. So that complementarity has been established, and we're seeing this happening. And it's value that we're extending in the form of access and variety of services to the population of Ghana, particularly those who are underbanked and unbanked. So the results have been great so far. We also have about 50 licensed fintech in the market right now. And these fintechs are providing various services from inward remittances to peer-to-peer payment, to bill payment, to all kinds of innovation that are either bringing convenience or access, simplifying access to the entire gamut of consumers in Ghana. And so the results have been quite interesting. We're seeing a lot of employment coming in that space. The mobile money ecosystem alone has over 550,000 active agents. All these agents have at least, let's say, one attendant in their shop. This is all employment. The fintechs that I spoke of who are licensed today or have to hire compliance staff, accountants, finance people, sales and marketing. This is all employment. Then you have also the issue of investment, which is a big aspect of this fintech ecosystem. We're getting investments coming in, and our hope is to be able to drive more investment in the coming years into the fintech ecosystem in Ghana.
Okay, let's talk about investment. I know the Vice President of the U.S., Vice President Kamala Harris, was in Ghana recently, earlier this year, and she visited a lot of digital technology area, including creative technology. And one of the announcements that she made when she was in Ghana was I believe, the investment in digital technology. Is that something that the bank is working with the U.S. government in any way to drive American investors' investment into Ghana?
Well, thank you. First of all, I think it's a very commendable effort that the Vice President and the administration of the United States decided to vote funding to support investment into Ghana and frankly in Africa as well. I think it's a very worthy investment and it will pay its dividends in many ways beyond financial. But with regards to the specificities of how some of these investments are going to come into specific institutions, I think that's an area where, as a policy institution, our goal is to make sure the entities that are available to attract investment are well run, well organized, and well structured to ensure that investors are protected. They have likely and they're viable and can return the expected value that the investors are putting in there, and even beyond the investment that perhaps governments such as the United States government will be making into the country, that other private sector investments can as well leverage this to extend their investments into Ghana. Not for charity, but because there is indeed a true value and the potential for great investment return by investing in the fintech sector in Ghana, in the digital space in Ghana. You see from a policy level, in fact from an executive level, you see the Vice President being a champion of investment into, or at least digitization of our economy. That in itself is a significant indication as to what our policy interests are. And as a central bank, we support what the broader national government is doing to drive a lot more formalization and digitization of the economy, which should ultimately be able to attract a lot more investment into Ghana. So we commend these efforts and we look forward to more of such initiatives into Ghana and other African countries. But of course, I'm much more interested in it coming into Ghana.
And Nigeria.
And Nigeria as well.
I guess I want to follow up with you regarding Africa has the largest youth population. You are one of the youth population. I mean, people have often talked about brain drain in Africa. Talk to me about, in your view, do we still have brain drain in Africa? What are you seeing? I know a lot of innovative are coming out of the continent. We have Nollywood now that is very, very popular. We're talking about fintech right now. So talk to me about regarding that, what the youth are doing on the continent.
So I think the issue of brain drain is always a bit of a challenge, but what we're also seeing is there's a significant inflow of the youth from countries like the US, Canada, UK, and broadly in the EU area coming back into Ghana because precisely what you mentioned. We have a large teeming population of youth and a very fast-growing youth population. And this youth population is actually digitally savvy and digital first. And so you have a large market currently that is also growing at an exponential rate and makes it one of the most interesting markets for any investor who's looking to see growth. Unfortunately, I've kind of crossed that youth segment as it stands. I'm just left with my face to keep me pretending like I'm there. But many of the cohorts who moved during my time relocating back to Ghana actually had experience coming from large corporate organizations and big tech firms here in the US, and they're doing incredibly well with whatever initiatives they're engaged in Africa. So I think with things like a continued investment in the sector, with several partnerships at the policy and the commercial level and at the business level, you will see a reversal of that, because there is nowhere that anyone would want to experiment and demonstrate their creative potential, one like home, but two like a place where they have the opportunity to really target a growing customer segment and really be able to scale their business as they hope to have seen in any part of the world should they have been. So I'm pretty optimistic about our chances of turning that narrative around.
Okay. So I thank you very much.
Thank you as well.
Thank
It's a
you.